Not all housewives are built for longevity. We've had plenty of housewives who have come and gone in a single season without really registering with the audience. There have, however, been a select few women who were with us for a short time but still left an indelible mark on our hearts. So I wanted to make this video to honor those housewives of seasons past. I had initially wanted to do a top 10, but I was really scraping the bottom of the barrel, so I decided to go for 5. I also decided to leave off Tiffany Moon from Dallas, as the only reason she didn't get a second season was because of the show's indefinite hiatus. But still, this is just my opinion, so let me know in the comments if you disagree. I have 2 honorable mentions, so let's look at those ladies first. My first honorable mention is Kimberly Bryant from season 1 of The Real Housewives of Orange County. So this season obviously was very different from the housewives we know and love today, as it had more of a documentary, voyeuristic feel, but I think Kimberly was great in that role. She was relatively new in town, having recently moved from Baltimore, but had been there long enough to acclimate a bit to Orange County, so she was able to give us an outsider's view from the inside. And she certainly had acclimated to the OC lifestyle. She had the blonde hair, the personal trainer, and of course the OC classic, the huge boob job, which led to one of the greatest taglines of all time. She left the show by choice, as her family had moved away to Chicago before the reunion was taped, but I think she could have stuck around for a few more seasons had she stayed in the OC. My second honorable mention is Christina from season 1 of The Real Housewives of Vancouver. I know a lot of American viewers haven't seen Vancouver, but the most important thing to know about this franchise is that it's extremely dark and contains an incredibly toxic cast dynamic. We have a housewife in active addiction in Rhony, who is having a severe falling out with her best friend of 17 years, Mary, who is being targeted by the most evil woman I've ever seen on reality TV in Jody. So Jody, along with her mini-me daughter Mia, goes up to strangers and says the meanest, most below-the-belt things you can imagine, and then whenever they request that Jody stop with the hostility, she tells them to go to therapy. It's truly unreal and quite yucky to watch, but season 1 provided us one bright light and one season wonder, Christina. Christina majorly channels Samantha Jones from Sex and the City. She claims her profession is divorcing wealthy men, she has a British accent, and she pulls a Kim Zolciak and claims to be 29 years old. She also handles Jody, the aforementioned evil housewife, in the most realistic way possible, by disengaging. She acknowledges how totally insane this woman is and just doesn't go around her as any normal person would. She also gets incredibly vulnerable and opens up about social anxiety in a very relatable way. She's basically the only source of fun on this gritty yet compelling entry into the International Housewives canon, so she deserves some acknowledgement. But alright, let's get to the list proper. In 5th place, we have Peggy Tanous, who is on season 6 of The Real Housewives of Orange County. So Peggy came on really looking and acting the part of what we would expect in a Real Housewife of Orange County. She has the long blonde hair, the big boobs, she named her children London and Capri, she's a former model, she's shooting a gun in her intro video. She's a bit delusional. She's really just the prototypical OC girl. She was also a pre-Shannon Beador with her interest in holistic medicine and astrology. She also had a really compelling personal storyline as she opened up about her experience with severe postpartum depression. She talks about her struggle with suicidal ideation following the birth of her child, which I think was tremendous, as it's an issue that's often struggled with in private. I think the whole "if it helps just one person" notion can often be a bit corny, but in this case I think Peggy could have made a difference in viewers' lives by opening up about her experience and casting light upon it. Peggy is probably most remembered for her feud with Alexis Bellino, who she was good friends with before the show. Alexis brought her on, but it was quickly evident that there was tension in the friendship. Alexis had mostly maintained her dignity on her first season, but with the introduction of Peggy, the facade begins to crack and we see her become jealous and incredibly competitive to a hilariously petty degree. Peggy saw what was going on and quickly switched allegiances, buddying up to Tamara and Vicky, who were surprisingly open to the new girl. The feud between Alexis and Peggy ramps up until it's revealed on Watch What Happens Live and then later on the season 6 reunion that Peggy and Alexis' husband, Jim, had dated years before he married Alexis. Peggy ended up returning for the first episode of the following season, but she's since revealed that she bowed out when it became clear that her and Jim's past relationship would become a central storyline that season. Season 7 also ended up being an Alexis takedown season, so I think it would have been really interesting to see how Peggy would have played into that. I think she really could have had longevity on the show had she stayed. She was almost a proto-Shannon Beador, both in her kooky and neurotic personality, but also with her role as the third wheel in the Tamara-Vicky dynamic. Still, she's expressed interest in returning and even filmed a few seasons for season 12 that didn't end up making the cut. But given that she's not really close with any of the current cast members, I don't see it happening anytime soon. In 4th place, we have Claudia Jordan from The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Claudia joined in season 7 as a friend of Kenya Moore, who desperately needed an ally. She was new in town, which provided an entrance into the show that seemed a bit more organic. She also worked as a radio host, which helps her shine as she's incredibly smart, funny, and quick with her words. Early on, we see her feuding with Portia over her relationship with Kenya and see Claudia's direct approach in dealing with conflict. It also became very clear early on that Nene Leakes absolutely despised Claudia, though it wasn't super clear why. This comes to quite the head when the ladies take a trip to Puerto Rico and Nene and Claudia get into it at the dinner table. Claudia literally earns her peach through this verbal sparring and leaves Nene looking like a fool, which, as we know, is no easy feat. Aside from this, we mostly get silly moments from Claudia, leaving a lot of fans underimpressed with her. I think it's important to note that she had been filming the season as a friend of until she embarrassed Nene in Puerto Rico, so it's pretty obvious that a lot of her solo scenes were scraped together after the fact. Still, she provided a lot of fun moments, especially allowing Kenya to show a sillier, more fun side of herself. Apparently, she was only asked back as a friend of in season 8. My theory is that the network was all in on Kim Fields, which of course was a terrible mistake. But I really think it's a shame, as Claudia proved that she was fun, smart, and could make the other ladies sweat with her words. She also had a friendship with Donald Trump before he ran for president, so I think she could have provided some interesting commentary during his campaign and presidency. Also, most of the franchises really seem to want a cast of younger women to keep the franchises alive, and I think they really had something with Claudia, but alas, we only got her for a short time. Third place goes to Lizzie Rovsek from season 9 of The Real Housewives of Orange County. So Lizzie came in really having it all. She had a hot husband, cute kids, and a career as a swimwear designer. Plus, she was smart, articulate, and drop-dead gorgeous. Not only that, she was hot, which of course triggered the self-proclaimed hottest housewife in the OC, Tamra Judge. Tamra didn't make this known right away, and Lizzie seemed to acclimate pretty well, mostly staying out of the drama, but proving herself to be an instigator. She, of course, received her traditional hazing from Vicki, but she was able to hold her own in the group. Things went left, however, on her birthday, when she hired a party bus to take the ladies to LA. Nobody but Vicki showed up, which set off a chain of events. Vicki was able to get in her ear and began spreading anti-Tamra sentiment. She convinced Lizzie that Tamra chose not to go to her birthday party, which was exacerbated when Lizzie found out that Tamra was making fun of her. When Lizzie tried to confront Tamra about this, she was met with a chilly audience, which firmly turned Lizzie against Tamra. We saw this play out when the ladies went on a trip to Bali, and Lizzie made her move. Throughout this trip, she isolated the women and turned them firmly against Tamra, leading to an epic confrontation at the dinner table. This was the only successful Tamra takedown in her 12-year tenure on the show. It's seriously impressive what Lizzie was able to accomplish, as I truly believe that Tamra is the most strategic housewife in history. We saw Lizzie return the next season, seemingly filming full-time at first, but she stepped down to a friend of after their mid-season cast trip to Tahiti. She claims that Tamra's bullying became too much to handle, though I've also read that she wasn't giving enough to warrant full-time status. I think Lizzie's biggest error was in not forming strong connections with the other ladies. She didn't seem to be truly friends with any of the women, besides maybe invisible Danielle in season 9. We did see her pop up in season 12 to spread rumors that Eddie was gay, as well as in season 15 when she and Emily were designing a swimsuit. She does seem to be genuine friends with Emily, so I think the door is open for her to return one day. All right, on to our top 2. My runner-up one-season wonder is Carlton Gebbia from The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills season 4. Now, season 4 feels like a bit of a fever dream to me, and this is largely due to Carlton's influence. She came on as an out-and-proud witch, or more specifically, a practicing Wiccan. She very much embodied this in her aesthetic, as she would often be dressed in all black and had a flair for religious imagery, which will come into importance soon. Her house was a Gothic mansion, with crosses and magic balls all over it. But she also had this weird juxtaposition with athleticism, as her husband's family made its fortune representing athletes. Early on, she gives us this fantastic scene of her essentially coaching a PE class for her kids while donned in all black, hopping around her Gothic palace. She also came in with a goal, and that was to have Kyle Richards' head on a stick. Her reasoning was incredibly flimsy. She's first mad that Kyle didn't listen to her story, though she was telling it to a crowd at a party Kyle was hosting. Then she gets mad that Kyle orders the murder of a bee, though 2 people at the table were allergic to their stings. This escalates to her being mad because she dreamed Kyle was talking about her. It was truly absurd, and one has to wonder if this was pre-planned. One theory is that she had watched the show and either didn't like Kyle or thought that feuding with her would secure her spot for seasons going forward. My personal conspiracy theory is that Lisa Vanderpump approached Carlton early on, possibly even before filming began, and turned her against Kyle. You see, this was an alliance season, at least for the first two-thirds. We had warring factions and the self-proclaimed Dream Team, comprised of LVP, her sidekick Brandy, and her frenemy Yolanda, against the outsiders and Kyle, her sister Kim, and fellow newbie Joyce. The Dream Team welcomed Carlton with open arms, and given what we know now about LVP's alleged ghost producing, it stands to reason that she saw Carlton as a loose cannon and a valuable soldier in her Cold War with Kyle. This is totally just my pet theory, so let me know if you think it holds water. Things began to splinter, however, when Carlton seemed to take things a bit too far. Her feud with Kyle escalated after Kyle asked Carlton one too many questions about her religion, though this was confusing as Carlton seemed to exhibit her religion quite proudly. Even Kyle's attempt to make nice with Carlton were met with offense. This led to a fever pitch when Kyle accused her of anti-Semitism and of cursing her computer. Joyce also accused her of cursing her husband's health, which Carlton vehemently denied, despite the fact that she had threatened Joyce earlier that day. The ladies began to turn on Carlton, and she ended up not being invited on the cast trip to Puerto Rico. The in-show reasoning was that they were scared she'd curse them, but that is so Looney Tunes that I have to wonder if there was something else going on with Carlton off camera that made it better that she not go. Whatever the reasoning, not being on the trip was a massive blow to her chances of staying on the show, as this was the trip where the LVB Takedown 1.0 occurred, which of course became the central focus of the season going forward. Having missed out on this, her chances of return were nearly dead in the water, especially given that her alliance had totally crumbled, and we began to see shifting factions after this trip, which did not include her. I don't think Carlton was a great fit for the show, though she was incredibly entertaining and memorable. Still, I don't think there's any chance that she returns to the show, even with the shout-out she got at the season 11 reunion. And now on to the main event, our first place one season wonder, which is, of course, Katie Rost from The Real Housewives of Potomac season 1. So the early days of Potomac were very focused on etiquette, charity work, and the whole upper-class country club aesthetic of the area. And for this, Katie Rost must have been a major get for casting the show. She tells us that her full-time job is being a socialite, and even Giselle tells us that her family is well known in the area for their philanthropy work. Early on, it seems as if even the older women like Karen and Charisse defer to her a bit for her legacy, though it doesn't take too long for the facade to begin to crumble. You see, Katie is an incredibly complex woman. While she does have this ball and gala aspect to her, she has many more fascinating facets. She's a former model and seems to have had a pretty successful career. She's dated celebrities like Russell Simmons and Pharrell Williams. She's also recently divorced and a mother, though she does have a future fiancé and her boyfriend Andrew. Katie's main personal storyline, aside from her efforts to build up her family's foundation, is in getting Andrew to propose, and we see their relationship featured quite prominently on the show. It's actually a situation with him that causes the women's opinion on her to begin to shift. Ashley Darby has a kitty cat birthday party early on in the season, at which Katie displays some erratic behavior. Giselle speculates that she may have been on drugs and brings up the accusations while the ladies are doing a sister circle at Ashley's beach house. This triggers Katie in a major way, and her reactions to Giselle shows that she's not afraid to fight dirty. We also get some sweet moments with Karen and Charisse mentoring Katie in how to stand up against Giselle. Katie's storyline in season 1 culminates with her finally getting the proposal she sought from Andrew, though when the reunion rolls around, she reveals that the two had broken up just a day before the reunion was taped. We saw her at the beginning of season 2 when she hosts her long-awaited Casino Royale party, but we don't fully see her back until season 4 when she rejoins the group as a friend of. Upon her return, we see a very different Katie, as her ball and gala facade has fully slipped and we have peak kooky Katie. She's dating a younger man and is into some interesting wig work this season. She gets into hot water with her former BFF, Ashley Darby, when she joins a conversation regarding allegations against Ashley's husband, Michael. This comes to a head when the ladies go on a cast trip to the Cayman Islands and Ashley and Katie go at it. Katie ends up leaving the trip early, leaving the women searching everywhere for her. It's iconic, honestly. I don't know what it is about Katie, but I just find her fascinating and so easy to watch. She's led such an interesting life, and I feel like the show could spend seasons pulling back the layers of her psyche. It seems as if she may be better off out of the spotlight that Real Housewives shines upon her, but I will always hold her in my heart as the best one-season wonder there ever was. So that's my list. If you think I majorly miffed anyone by leaving them off, feel free to argue your case in the comments. But that's all I have for today, so if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.